Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kerri Stewart. I am a dietitian with the Heart Resource Center over at Spartanburg Regional. And Alexandra is joining me today in the back to help me run through some questions. We have a quick lunch break, simple, easy smoothie for you this afternoon. This is one of my favorites. I am not a berry fruit type smoothie person necessarily. So this is actually something that I created after a little bit of inspiration, and it is so good. Everyone in my family really enjoys it. There is a ton of nutrients that go into this. It's especially great, even though it's colder outside. It's especially great because of the pumpkin, the orange. It's got a lot of immune boosting properties because of that orange. So during sick season, especially if someone's not feeling well, maybe they want to drink something a little bit more than eat something. And smoothies, as long as they're done right, can be really well rounded for a meal replacement. So we're going to dive right in here. I've got my blender. First, I'm going to add one frozen banana. And if you want to zoom in, you can see here that I have already pre-frozen it. So I let my bananas ripen on the counter. And then I actually go ahead and peel them all, break them into bunches, sections like this. I feel like they blend up a little bit better that way. And so I'm going to dump this in here. So this is just one banana. Then I usually do a lot of them. I'll let a whole bunch of bananas ripen at one time. And that way I know that I did about 4 or 5 sections per banana, and I just take out 4 or 5 sections in the morning. I am not going to use ice. So the banana is kind of like the ice cube, but that's good because when the smoothie starts to melt, it's not going to water down. It's actually going to almost enhance the flavor, and the banana makes for a really creamy, nice texture that way. So it's going to be a little bit thicker, which is actually going to help make you feel fuller too. Now, this part is usually what can freak folks out. So I'm actually going to add a fifth of a block of silken tofu. And this is, you can see that there's literally a picture of a smoothie on the front here. So I'm not just a crazy dietitian making this up. This is really great for that in particular. And so it is very, it's almost like a pudding consistency. So I'm going to cut into this. And then there's going to be a little bit of water here. So that's why I'm doing it over my cutting board. Tofu is like the cheese of soy milk. So I'm just going to go around the edge. You can see some of the water starting to come out. Very careful with my small paring knife here. I'm going to peel back this label. And you want this kind versus the firm or extra firm because as you can see, it's just got a completely different texture. It's almost like it melts in your mouth. I promise you will not be able to taste this. But again, what this is going to do is thicken up your smoothie. It's going to add a little bit, it's going to add some more protein, fiber, calcium, all these things that we would get from soybeans, which are great. And it's doesn't taste sour. So a lot of people add yogurt as a thickener to their smoothie, but yogurt is sour. So then sometimes we compensate for that by adding a lot of extra honey, maple syrup, even if they're natural sugars, it's easy to do that. With the tofu, it's got a mild flavor, so it's going to thicken it. You're not going to be able to taste it, but it's going to still add some of those nutrients that you would be seeking from the yogurt itself. So give that a try. Don't be afraid. Now I'm going to take my spoon. I'm actually going to dump a little bit of the water into the sink first, and then I'm going to take 1/5 of a block. The only reason I'm doing that is because it says 1/5 is the serving size. What is nice about this is most of us go to work 5 days a week. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there's more than one person in your household, then you can easily do 2 smoothies at a time. You can always add the tofu to a recipe for a smoothie, even if it doesn't call for it. Or again, like I said, sub it instead of the yogurt. This fits perfectly in a Ziploc quart-size bag, so you can seal it right back up, put it back in your fridge, and again, take it out for later. Some more of the water will separate. Just drain the water off in the following days, and then go ahead and add it again. I'm looking this way because that's where our refrigerator is. So I keep acknowledging the refrigerator, even though I know you can't see it. All right. There we go. Not too much water, but then I'm just going to take my spoon here and I'm going to scoop out my 1/5 of a block. You can also make things like dressings and mayonnaise based type, all sorts of things. You can make a chocolate mousse and you can turn that into a pie with the silken tofu as well. All sorts of recipes out there that are really creative if you don't necessarily want to put the rest of it in your smoothie. So that's our tofu. Don't be afraid of it. Again, unless you're allergic, but I promise you're not going to be able to taste that. I'm going to rinse my spoon off. And next, I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of canned pumpkin. So this is going to add so much vitamin A. This is one of those interesting things where you actually get more nutrition from canned pumpkin than you do from eating fresh pumpkin. And that is because just by cooking it and canning it, we're actually concentrating some of the nutrients. So basically, it's like canned tomatoes in the same sense. You get more nutrition because some of the water has just evaporated by nature. It's concentrated, even though there still is water. It's a great option. Of course, this is just what we want to look for is canned pumpkin only, not the pumpkin pie mix that's pre-made. So I did 3 heaping tablespoons of that. So you can see I just used the same spoon. So we're not dirtying anything else up. A tablespoon of ground flaxseed for its fiber, for its omega-3 fatty acids, those anti-inflammatory compounds, for its lignans and some of these phytonutrients that are cancer preventing and cancer fighting. So add it to anything. Again, you won't even taste it that way. 2 heaping tablespoons of pecans. Love some pecans. So again, we're kind of getting that really that fall flavor going on. 1/4 of a teaspoon, no, I'm sorry, 1/2 of a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, 1/2 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And when I'm making this at home in the mornings, instead of separating it into all these little fancy bowls, usually I have my 1/2 of a teaspoon and my tablespoon out, and I do my dry ingredients with my tablespoon. So I'll do my flaxseed, I'll do my pecans, and then I'll do my pumpkin last with the same tablespoon. So I'm just dirtying that up. Then I do my dry pumpkin pie spice, then my wet vanilla extract in the 1/2 of a teaspoon. Again, that way we're just dirtying up that one thing. We don't need to really do all these little bowls. And then I have a nice little single serving blender. So a lot of times I don't even really pay too close of attention to how much milk I'm putting in. I actually just go ahead and fill it up and try not to overflow my blender, which is something that I do, I don't know, maybe once a month and never seem to learn. So pay attention to where that max line says that it is. But if you have a bigger blender like we do today, this is unsweetened almond milk in this case. And I don't really have a preference for what type of milk you do as long as it's unsweetened. If you're not doing unsweetened, you're really not doing yourself any justice there on that front. And again, that's why I ripen the bananas very well. So they might have a little bit of browning on them before I freeze them, because that's our only source of sweetness here. All right. Moment of truth. Here we go. This one goes nice and fast, so I probably won't need any more than 10 seconds. All right. And I'm going to pop the lid off, and then I'm just going to scrape the sides down a little bit since it kind of all flung up on me. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. This is a great way, especially if you've got children that you may be trying to, or maybe adult children that you're trying to squeeze in some extra nutrients for. You've got the protein, the fiber. Pumpkin is a veggie. So I'm just going to give it one more second. All right. And if you like it a little bit thinner, then you can add a little bit more milk. If you like it to be a little bit more thick, which I personally do. This one actually looks a little bit thinner right now, but this is all that you need, all you need to do. Again, you can make all of them in one big batch in your blender and use up all your tofu, use up a lot of these ingredients right then and there, half of your milk. So it is absolutely worth a try. I hope you try it. Cheers. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them into the chat while I take a sip. So the question is about how orange foods are related to immune health. And so the really neat thing about our orange foods, not just pumpkin, but pumpkin in particular, butternut squash, peaches, cantaloupe, mango, sweet potatoes, carrot, those are some big ones that we might eat a lot. Those have compounds called carotenoids in them. Those are phytonutrients, phyto meaning plant. So we only find these compounds in plant foods. And then in particular, the carotenoids are really what you find in orange and even some red. Those are actually going to help our immune system function by helping these immune cells target cancer cells. So sometimes we don't think of cancer as being an immune response or the beginning stages, but really it's our immune system's job to find these cells that are abnormal and destroy them. And so the really neat part about these carotenoids is that's what they help these different types of immune cells do. And when we look at some of the research, it's especially helpful for women. It can build up in our ovaries, uterine lining, all of our reproductive organs, breast tissue, breast health as well. And it can help those different parts of the body hyper target these areas. And so there's that, but then there's also the immune function of just simply, if you're fighting off a virus, you're fighting off a cold in that way. So that side of the immune system as well. A lot of them are very anti-inflammatory, and that's the thing about really any chronic disease, whether it's heart disease, cancer, kidney disease, they're inflammatory. That's usually how they start. So if we can be bombarding our body with these, then we can actually decrease the inflammation too, which hopefully will help prevent a lot of these. Or if we do get some of these things, then help our body manage it much better, manage some of the side effects and symptoms, keep them shorter, etc. So that's a long answer to what you asked, but that's part of the orange foods in particular, the beauty of that. And this is colorful cooking at home. So we're looking at all of these different colors and trying to promote a variety, but this is where the orange one comes into play for sure. Any other questions? I'm going to take another sip. This is delicious. I hope you guys enjoy this. One more question. The cons of pecans. I don't think there are any unless you're allergic. So we can talk about that for a minute. You know, the reason I have the pecans in here is because this is meant to be more of like a meal replacement. If you're not a pecan person, then you could use almonds. You could do extra ground flaxseed. You could do ground flaxseed and chia seeds. You could do walnuts. Walnuts are the highest nut in omega-3 fatty acids, but pecans are actually second. So yes, they have a decent amount of calories, but this smoothie overall, I think is still only around 300 calories. So for a whole meal, that's really not that much for even any adult, but we're piling in that healthy fat. So we've got that healthy fat from both the pecans or whatever nut you choose. If you are allergic to nuts, you could also try doing this with pumpkin seeds, pumpkin pie, pumpkin seeds. So that would taste good. Pumpkin seeds are a great source of zinc, which is an antioxidant as well. So you could load up with that. We've got our vegetable. We've got some protein, not too much from the almond milk, but you could use unsweetened soy milk instead. And that has about as much protein as a cup of cow's milk. So it's got 7 grams. A cup of cow's milk has 8. Unsweetened soy milk also has 2 grams of fiber. So now we're getting even more fiber in that way. And then these are just our flavoring agents really, so they're not going to add much of anything. And then we've got our banana, which is our fruit. So again, we're still thinking about all those components of a well-rounded meal, but put them in that way. So if you omit the pecans or you omit the nuts in some way, you're just probably going to be pretty hungry pretty fast. So if you're not using it as a meal replacement and you just want a little afternoon snack or something like that, then you can try it without it. Absolutely. But that is the nutritional reason that I like to add nuts to really most of my smoothies too. Anything else? All right. Well, everyone, enjoy the rest of your lunch hour. For those of you that don't know, we are doing a day of colorful cooking at home. So we've got 3 more events coming up the rest of this day and afternoon. You will receive those recipes and the links to all of them just by signing up for this one. So give us about a week or so and we will get that to you. But thank you. And please let us know if you try this and what you think about it, or if you tweak it in some way. So remember, this is just a suggestion. Put in whatever you like and what your family will enjoy the most. So thank you, and we hope to see you later.